Alright, so next what we're going to do, we're going to look at specular maps. So how a specular map works, it uses the same shapes that we have for the color file as far as, what's covering the UV shells and the UV layer that we have here. So similar to how we have a color map, but it's varying in color. With the specular map and other maps that we add to an object to make it more believable, follows a grayscale map. So in this case, for specularity, the darker it is, um, the more matte it would appear. The lighter the gray, closer to white, the more it's going to appear glossy. So the first thing that we're going to do, just to do an overall pass, is to make a whole adjustment layer above everything, black and white. So I'll go new adjustment layer. I'll name it, click on black and white, or you could lower the saturation as well. Just do a saturation and switch it to 0. Um, I'll hit OK. And so now what we can do, we're going to save our PSD file as a new name, so that way we're not overwriting the color file. So save as hammer spec PSD. I'll hit OK. And now let's just take a look at how things look here overall. So let's go ahead and just link it in Maya. So I'll click on the hammer. Let me delete my history just so it's right there. So I have blend 1. I'm going to go down to where it says specular color. Click on the node. Click on file. And I'll click on the folder icon and select hammer spec. So you kind of saw a little shift there. So let's zoom in. So you can kind of see that there's some specularity and some not. All right. So the thing that we're going to do is wherever it's dark, like where the grime is, it needs to be a darker, dark gray. Same thing where the smudges are, and then a lighter gray where there's no grime. Same thing here, we're going to lighten this section of the handle because it's got actually a bit of a gloss there. So it's actually going to be a lighter gray um, compared to other parts, or lighter than we anticipated, basically. So one way to go about that is if I go to the folder where it says for the black handle, I'm going to control click. I might delete this layer. Hold on. I do want first off the selection. Yeah. So I might save the selection here by command clicking or control clicking on the thumbnail. Go to select, save selection, and I'll name this handle. Click OK. All right. So now if ever I need to load it, but I'm going to delete it just to see what's going on here. Command D, Command D, Command. There we go. Delete. Okay, it goes a little lighter. I see. Okay, I needed to even that. That's what it was. Okay, but still with this selection, command click. I'll make sure that the specular items are above. So I'll go to layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation, so I can just lighten this. I could have done exposure too. That's another one. Yeah. Yeah, so then it's darker here where the grime is. So then for sure there it's going to be a little bit darker. Um, Now for the handle, I'm going to select it. And here I'm going to increase the contrast even more. Layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrasts. I gotta bring it above so I can see it. Let's bring it up here. And I'm also gonna do make it a little lighter. Layer. There we go. Then I'll do the same thing for the metal. I'm gonna lighten it a little bit. And the reason why I'm doing it section by section is because the lightness that I do for the handle might not be the same amount for the metal, so I have to break it up in sections. So for the metal, where is this? Open this up. I'll control command click this. And I'll do another lightness layer. Make it even lighter. And increase the contrast too. So there. And then one more contrast pass. Yeah, that's gonna look way better. Alright. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll file save this and then go back to Maya. Let's just zoom in before I reload this so you can kind of see this a little bit better. And go to spec color. I'll hit reload. Yeah. I turn off the lights. So lighting, use default lights just so you can see this a little bit. And let me just hide the UV editor. We don't need that now. Just don't move anything. So hopefully you see the difference here. I might maybe lower the specularity of the handle just a little bit so it's not looking too plasticky. Yeah, I think that's my one critique is just darken that a little bit more instead. Overall, like even here, it just looks way better now. All right. So then the next thing would be is to play around with a bump map, specifically too for here where there's the metal. Same thing. So with a bump map on that's great grayscale value, the darker it is, the more it's going to recede into the object. The lighter the color, the more it's going to appear as if it's protruding out, but not by modeling it, but through this appearance and the illusion of the texture. So I'm gonna minimize this, and I'm gonna file on Photoshop, save as, and now make this the hammer bump. So here in reverse, we're gonna where the grime is. So this, see where the handle. Oh, I embedded that color in the handle. See, this is why we don't do that. We need to invert the color of the dirt. So the dirt has to be lighter here because it's got to appear like it's layering on top of the object. So here it makes sense, right? You know, as far as it's lighter, it's got to protrude out. If it's darker, it's kind of almost like receding into shadow. But when you think about dirt and things like that, you have to think the opposite because it's that even though dirt is darker typically, um, you have to think it has to be lighter in this map in this file because it's layering on top. Um, and you'll see. So let's just go ahead and you'll see it here. So I've saved. Did I save this? Yeah, bump, hammer bump. So now let's go here back to um, Blinn 1, which is the shader that I've added for this object. Again, we don't work on Lambert 1. Don't do that. And then we're going to go slightly up. It's in the first set of attributes and common attributes, and it's going to say bump mapping. I'm going to click on the node icon here. So I'm going to create a new node, and I'm going to click on File again, and click on File 4 up here at the top, or whatever the file number would be for you. I think I've had a few other files going through this. And then I'm going to click on the folder. I'm going to click on Hammer Bump. I'll hit Open so you can kind of see it. So a couple things. Let's look at this. See how what I'm referring to, that the dirt is receding in? I mean, sometimes it might, but here, this object is really more flat, and it's going to just appear just slightly above. Yeah. So the biggest thing that we need to do is decrease the contrast here, because I did increase it for the specular map. But here, because it's not, there's nothing really engraved in here, so the contrast can be lowered, right? So that the variation of things popping out or going and receding in isn't as drastic as what we see here. This is like pretty, if we're taking what we have as is, probably we got to adjust this. So let's go back to that PSD file and let's do that. So a couple things that we can do right off from the beginning. So we got this contrast here. So now we're going to lower the contrast. I might just delete this. Delete. Delete. Yeah. And delete some of these. Hue saturation. Yeah, delete that one as well. Brightness contrast. Yeah, no. Delete. Yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and delete them. Okay. So the thing that we need to do, like I said, we actually need to invert some of this. So um, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that at least for the handle. So I'll do it here. Command click, and I'll go to layer, adjustments, and I'll click invert. I'll hit OK. And we'll decrease the contrast. It doesn't need to be this different. And then I'll do the same thing for the handle here. Command click, layer, adjustment layer, invert this. Reason being is that I want to make sure that the darkest parts are where the creases are, and we can kind of see that now. Okay, good. The only thing here that I don't like, oh, it's what I did here with the grime. So I'll take the grime. Oh. Hmm. This is going to be a weird part. This is what I'm... Let me turn on the UV layer, see what's what. And then... See, there is stuff here. But it's not... I might just erase this a little bit. Or add to my selection here. Let me use the wand tool. Oh man. My PSD is slowing down. Okay. Let me pause the recording for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to close out Maya because I couldn't have both things opened while recording at the same time. Um, so yeah, I'm in a little bit of a pickle. I'll admit it. I stupidly, I don't know why. Just gonna erase a little bit of this, and then also. Let me just hide the invert for 1 second. Where is the invert? That's... Oh, that's why. Okay, you know what? Let's do that. Keep the invert there, but let's bring the grime underneath. That's what I needed to do. Under both. Oh, but you're still not. So let's just assume... Let's see, where's the handle? Okay, so I see. So I'm gonna just erase some of this. The handle here. Okay, so I'll just take some of this from the handle and I'll erase or delete. And then I'll do the same thing for the inverted section. So just take the eraser. There we go. And the reason I'm erasing, I selected the actual layer, and erasing it will take away from the mask. So I did a marquee selection, and then there now I have the dirt back to where I needed it to be. So that's all that. And then I'll do another selection here. Well, that should be sufficient for the most part. So I'll go ahead and I'll do the metal as well. So Command and then Command Shift on the thumbnails. Command click on the first one, Command Shift, 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 Command Shift on the others. Okay, and then let's zoom out just to make sure I have them all perfect. And then I'll go ahead and go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Invert. Okay, Oh, did I literally just... Let's try that again. Layer, invert, and I'll bring it above. There we go. Oh, I'm missing one. Where's... Sorry, I'm just trying to move this layer up without linking it to something else. There we go. Why? Oh, I didn't have that in the selection. Let's try that one more time. Command, click, Command Shift, Command Shift, Command Shift click, Command Shift click, Command Shift click, Command Shift click, and one, two more. Click. Okay, now I have them all. Okay, let's one more time. Layer, new adjustment layer. I'll click on invert. I'll hit OK. And bring it underneath the UV layer. I'll bring the UV layer on top. There we go. Did I still leave one out? Nope, I didn't. But what I might do is command click, and then I'll just lighten everything and decrease the contrast. So we'll add a contrast layer. Okay. We'll go here. Decrease. And then add a lightness. Or an overall darkness if need be, but okay. So let's go ahead and say save this, file save. And I'll hide this layer. I'll go back to Maya and open up Maya. Hopefully Maya works. It's going to be a little bit of some weird crevice here, but hopefully it'll be fine because it'll act as like a little indentation for where the model is. We'll see. Let me pause. Okay, so I've hidden the UV layer, but let me just save this one more time. File, save, and then we'll go back to Maya. Go to blend 1. Go for file 4. We're going to hit reload. It's still pretty... I might have to just lower the depth of this. But hopefully you can kind of see too where the grime is here, that it's at least a buildup versus... It's a little too much of a buildup, but it's not too bad. And then... Let's go ahead here. Hopefully you see a difference, especially in the photos I showed in class before. So I'll go into the file. I'm going to click down here, up here at the top where you see file 4. I'm going to click on here to go further into my connections here. And I'm just going to lower my, let me zoom in a little bit more here so I can see what's going on. I'm going to lower my bump depth a bit. And I'm not going to go past the negative because then it'll invert this. Just enough to indicate that there's something going on. And so then I'll go ahead and make my renders. I'll light the scene and then 2 renders, and yeah, hopefully that helps. Um, File, increment, and save, all that fun stuff. And again, you'd upload the whole folder. Yeah, that's it. All right, take care, guys.